Listen, all you gals and boys, I'm just from Tuckahoe. I'm going to sing a little song. My name's Jim Crow. Wheel about and turn about and do just so. Every time I wheel about, I jump Jim Crow. I went down to the river.
In 1836, Jim Crow is born. He begins his strange career as a malicious minstrel caricature of a black man, created by a white man to amuse white audiences. Jim Crow would come to symbolize one of the most tragic eras of race relations in American history, a time deeply rooted in promise and contradiction. 1865, 4 million Americans, slaves simply because they were born black, were now free. But in little over a decade, that promise was gone, replaced by a rigid system of laws designed to keep blacks from experiencing any of their newly achieved rights. It would be known as the era of Jim Crow, the American form of racial apartheid.
I tried to lean inside and get me a cup of water. And those white people beat me till I was unconscious. They thought I was dead.
My dad said, as long as you're living in this South, you're going to have to go to the back door in this town. And you just settle for that. He said, but one thing I want you to swear and promise to me, that you will never get used to it.
I'm not ashamed of the segregated and Jim Crow experience, all because we were able to devise techniques for survival that permitted us to abide our time and to wait until our change comes.
I started collecting racist objects when I was a teenager, and the stuff was everywhere. At a certain point, I ended up with thousands of pieces. I didn't know what I would do with it. I just thought a lot about what it meant to be a person of color living during Jim Crow. Had no intention of creating a museum, but the collection kept growing. So in the 1990s, I gave my collection to the university. It took 15 years, but in 2012, we opened this museum. I have lots of respect for museums that celebrate African American history, that celebrate African American accomplishment, but that's not what this facility was. I wanted to create an actual racism facility, to have people focused on this specific topic in terms of our history. So if you just have a society with millions of just postcards like this, does that reinforce certain ideas about black people and white people? Some of the best discussions we have in the museum are about the word nigger, which sounds kind of weird, by the way, because I'm a sociologist and we don't believe words have any inherent meaning. They're just sound signs that we give. But we do believe that people, once the meanings are given, that they are shared.
I mean, no piece is inherently racist. It's a racist society which will create racist objects and will racialize other objects. That's why the watermelon has a racial. There's nothing inherent about a watermelon that makes it racist, but you know darn well that it's been racialized.
Someone looking at Aunt Jemima objects or other mammy images, they don't think of that as offensive. They think of good times spent with their families. It's very nostalgic. Someone else looking at those same pieces, they see the vestiges of slavery and segregation. So often we're not deciding that something is racist, but what we are doing are collecting pieces that help us talk about racism.
Wheel about and turn about and do just so. Every time I wheel about, I jump Jim Crow.